Okay, it's the Husk Unleashed now. This story came up on BBC-wank yesterday, one day ago, end of January. Police officers mock body-worn video of semi-naked woman. And you look through this story and, look, don't get me wrong. This story doesn't seem like a good story, right? So police officers made sickening comments about an assault victim while watching body-worn video showing her groin. The BBC has learned the woman's body was exposed while she was filmed suffering from a seizure. She was sort of strapped into sort of thing, it says later. And the a vulnerable woman was arrested and placed in leg restraints before being recorded on body-worn video while vomiting and losing consciousness. Officers watching the footage insulted her looks, used derogatory language about her genitals, and discussed what they would need to be paid to sleep with her. The 22-year-old says she feels betrayed. The student officer who reported his colleagues says the force covered up the incident, this, that and the other. Now, listen, before we go any further, let me just say the blindingly fucking obvious, all right? Obviously, this is not professional conduct by the police, right? This is not something that anybody should be content with or happy about, okay? Of course, this is completely wrong. Is it, however, national news? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I don't think it should be. I'm going to run through a couple of incidents that I've personally had with the police, and then I'm going to give you some of my thinking, which I'm sure you're as fascinated by as I am. One thing happened to me not long ago, actually. I was in my flat here, quite central in the city, and there was this commotion outside, and I looked outside and I saw this youth running, and then he was running over the road, and then as he came across to the other side of the road, he kind of fell over, and then following him, running after him, was this man, sort of my age kind of thing. And then the man, obviously it turned out, was a plainclothes police officer, and this youth fell over, tripped up on the curb basically, and then the police officer went on top of him. He said, "Get down, stay down," and he got on top of him, and he pulls out the handcuffs and he's like, "Get down, get down, get down." And at this moment in time, I'm looking, and our neighbours are also at the window watching, and they've got the video out. And then a second plainclothes police officer comes running around the corner. Obviously hasn't been doing his couch to 5k, so it took him a while to get there. And at this moment in time, this thing happens where the youth is restrained. He's in handcuffs. He's lying on his front on the ground. And the first police officer is basically on top of him, with his knee on him. He's completely got him restrained. But the youth's still kind of wiggling around a little bit. Not kind of like in a fighty way, just in this kind of distressed way. And the second police officer comes up and he goes, "Stay down." And then he kicks this youth twice, kind of in the rib area and the arm. Now, these kicks were not the kind of kicks of like, I'm going to beat the living shit out of this guy. But they were also not the kind of kicks that 6-year-old boys do in the playground when they're pretending to be wrestlers. There was enough behind it, from what it looked like to me, to say, look, I'm here. I'm stronger than you. I'm letting you know I'm in fucking charge now. But it also wasn't going to break a rib. And my neighbours started yelling out the window, "Fucking disgusting, get off him, what do you think you're doing? He's only a youth, he's only a youth." And one of these coppers shouts up, "He's carrying a fucking knife, he's carrying a knife." And they go, "Oh, it's disgusting what you're doing." And I guess still in the air at that time, I said it a few months ago, but it might have been a bit longer than that. But obviously there's been all the stuff coming out of America, the George Floyd stuff, and then the defund the police stuff that they even tried. And isn't it right that in one state they actually did defund the police to some extent, and then the crime rate went through the roof? Shocking, that. Very surprising. And I remember watching this, and I was thinking, I know that this kick that this police officer did was essentially not necessary, okay? It was not required to contain this youth. It was not necessary. But I was also thinking, well, you know what? You're running, you're chasing somebody, they've apparently got a knife, your adrenaline's going through the roof, maybe something's even happened that I don't know about. it wasn't a overly aggressive kick. And I thought, well, you know what, caught up in the moment, like, is this the kind of thing that my neighbours are going to send off to the news, and this guy is going to be in the news, and like this guy's going to lose his job over or get in some trouble over? And I thought, oh, it just didn't sit well with me. I thought, well, like, I ain't a fan of the police, okay? But they do have a job to do, and it's not an easy job. I'll tell you another time. And by the way, let me just say, I've been in pretty difficult situations with the police. I've stayed on protest sites. I've seen them sort of, just to piss you off, flying the helicopter at like 50 metres above your head at 3 a.m, waking you all up with like hundreds of people, hundreds of coppers suddenly dressed in like riot gear, and then they'll just stand there, make sure you're all up, you know, intimidate you a little bit and then fuck off. Like, I've been illegally searched. I've been in illegal police kettles like for hours on end. I've been in all of these kind of situations at least a little bit. So I've seen the police like maybe not at their absolute worst, but I've seen them be pretty bad. I've seen them break the law, that's for sure, many times. One particular time I was on a protest with my ex-girlfriend, and we were standing in this area, and the police had decided, we were on the road basically, and the police had decided we were going to clear the road from one direction, and we just happened to be at the front line of where the police came in. So the police all formed a line, and then we were right in front of them, and they were going, move back, move back, move back, and then they're basically stepping forward, slowly stepping forward, and the crowd's moving back, and me and my girlfriend at the time, you know, we're like sort of going, shouting whatever we were shouting. We were protesting about whatever we were protesting, but we're moving back. And then this copper like pushes my missus. Just totally out of the blue, he just pushes her. And there's absolutely no reason. And I start losing my shit at this copper, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what the fuck have you done that for? Like, she was moving back, she wasn't doing anything wrong, there's absolutely no fucking... And I'm swearing at him, you know, and I'm all in the fucking moment. And then I suddenly find myself stopping, and I'm looking at this lad. And this lad must have been like 24 years old or something. I was older than him. And his fucking face has gone red, and he looks scared. He looks scared partly, I think, because he doesn't know what he's provoked in the crowd. He obviously can't have been doing the job for very long. And also, I think he genuinely just felt that he'd fucked up, you know, and he felt bad about it. But he couldn't say because he's in that moment. And I thought, all right, never mind, don't worry about it. You know, I didn't say that, but I thought, whatever. Because I could see the human there in that moment. Now, here's the thing I've been thinking about the police, right? And I'm not defending this story, by the way. Obviously, this is a thing that should be looked at, right? It's disgusting. But I just don't know if it's national news, folks, right? That's all I'm saying. Is this supposed to be national news? And especially like this story is being presented as national news by a state-funded paedophile sanctuary for the past 50 years, otherwise known as the BBC. It's like, this pales in significance to most of the things that the BBC have been going along with for decades. Stop me if I'm wrong. Anyway, what do you want from a police officer? Well, I would guess that in an ideal world, you want a police officer to be fit and healthy. You want them to have a strong moral compass. You want them to have a good ethics, foundation of ethics. You want them to be a responsible, functional member of society. You want them to be of a reasonable level of intelligence. You want them to have some compassion. That's on the one side. But on the other side, you need them to be incredibly brave. And you need them to be the sort of people that are willing to put themselves in danger, willing to enter into violent situations when their physical safety, maybe even their life, may be in danger. You need people that are willing to constantly deal with the absolute fucking dregs of society, the most insane... Like, think about what police officers actually have to deal with. They have to deal with all of the stuff that we don't want to deal with. They have to deal... Actually, coincidentally, I've just realised this happened to me yesterday. I was cycling to work, and this homeless guy was on the street, off his fucking tits on some drugs. at like 8:30 in the morning, jumping on cars. And he was on car bonnets, and cars were driving with him on to try and shake him off. I was like, this guy's going to get fucking killed if he's not careful. And I called the cops, and it's like, yeah, the cops are the ones that are going to have to deal with this, you know? That's where it stops. It's like the cops have to look at people who have been beheaded or have been in a car crash and had the body completely mutilated. They have to look at people who've been murdered. They have to deal with rapists. They have to deal with child sexual abuse. They have to look at images of child sexual abuse as part of their investigation work. They have to deal with murderers, criminals, rapists. Like, they have to just deal with the absolute fucking worst people that we have in society. And it's a police force. And the force part is the operative word, right? Ultimately, it comes down to actual physical force. Forcing people by physical power to stop doing what they're doing, and then restraining them in handcuffs and later restraining them behind bars. It's actually, they have to use force. Now, obviously society produces people, many people, that have this rare and beautiful combination of characteristics where they have a great moral compass, you know, and they're all of those upstanding citizen things that you want, but they're also, for some reason, interested in putting themselves in danger when they probably could go and find a much safer job. You know, now, I know that there are lots of people out there that do that, and I know there are lots of people out there that are like that and are in the police force. But what I think is that in especially large, complex societies like we live in now, I just don't think our large, complex societies produce enough of these idealistic police, or people who could be police officers, that actually will go and apply to do it for the amount that you need, right? You need way more police than there actually are people who can do it in the way that you would like them to be. Because ultimately you want a police officer to be better than you as a person, right? You want them to be braver than you, stronger than you, and more moral than you. That's what you want a police officer to be, right? That we just don't produce enough of those people, right? But we need to have a police force. And listen, I fucking hate the police. Well, I don't hate the police, but I've seen the police at the worst, and I wouldn't say I'm a fan of the police. But, you know, we have to get out of these kind of teenage ways of thinking about things. Things are complicated, okay? This life and this world is complicated. And you can bet your ass that you need a police force. Go and look around and find a place that ain't working. As soon as there isn't a police force, all that happens is some other powerful group of men usually get together and enforce their own, you know, some mob rule or whatever it is, you know. You need these people, and these people aren't necessarily going to be the best people because there just aren't enough of the best people out there who want to put themselves in these in these dangerous positions. And also, we are all products of our environment. If you put me in prison for 10 years in a maximum security prison filled with criminals, I'm going to come out of that experience a different person to I am than if you know, had me living with a lord for 10 years or something like this. Although some of the lords should be in prison, and then I could get both done at the same time, couldn't I? But the point is, our societies function because we are influenced. Part of the human condition is that we are influenced. So if you have these police officers in there, you know, joining the police, even if they start out being great, they're going to get desensitized to things. And you know what, folks, look, there is such a thing as gallows humour. There's such a thing as being a bit dark. Like, it doesn't look like these police officers here committed any... I mean, maybe they did commit a crime, I don't know, but it doesn't look to me like they did. It looked to me like they were just being bloody crude and a bit blokey and a bit horrible. And it's like, these fucking things happen, okay? This is the real fucking world. The people that are telling you to be concerned about this, the fucking BBC, are the people that have been harbouring paedophiles Let me just repeat that. This is the BBC News asking us to be shocked by this story that some police officers were watching some video footage and they were sort of laughing and joking and making sexual remarks about it. This is a state-funded paedophile sanctuary. That's what the BBC is. That's what the BBC has been for decades. I can send them my lawyer details. I don't even have a lawyer, so, fuck me. Alright, I'll stop. I'm stopping. I've stopped.